Are we connected? Okay, we are good. Green means good. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.lo, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. And we back. 'Cause why not? It's game week. I'm trying to do the best that I can for y'all. So it's good to see everybody, man. Hope y'all come in here, hit the like button on the way in. Y'all already know the deal with all of that. So we're gonna go into part 2 of this FSU versus LSU discussion. Hopefully we have a decent turnout. I did not realize before I chose to go live that other people would be live at this time. So they'll probably be tuned into that. That's okay. Y'all can always come watch me on the rebound, which is all good. Tyler got some corona and some blood. Okay. Yeah, man, y'all stay safe for the hurricane. Those of you that will be affected by it, nothing new for Florida residents, but that doesn't mean don't take it serious. And hope everybody stays safe, man. I really do. Never fails this time of the year. Hurricanes always come through this time of the year, man. So never fails. Always threatens to mess up a game. And there is none bigger than this weekend. It might be the biggest game of the year. Obviously, Clemson game is still looming. So those are the two big ones, and of course you got the rivalries. But we start this year off with another big one, man. 2 top 10 teams, ready to get it cracking. I know I'm ready for this game. I know y'all ready for this games. I was here for the hurricane in California. Interesting time, I will say that, man. A very interesting time dealing with that. Definitely had an interesting time. But it's Tuesday. So I haven't ran into any. Well, actually, I take that back. I know one for sure. I ran into some LSU fans, though. They've been talking a little bit of trash. They called last year's game lucky. So, yeah. They tend to think last year was luck and that they going to get us back this year, but we'll see. Speaking of that game, man, let's not waste no more time. Let's dig into that game. I did a little research last night because I was just interested in, I'm not going to sit here and say, that I watched a bunch of LSU games last year, because I did not. We'll talk about that in a little bit, Ardavius. Some interesting quotes from the one and only primetime Deion Sanders. So it's very interesting. Very interesting what y'all think about that. But real quick, before we get into Deion. Better yet, you know what? Let's get into Deion real quick, and then let's talk about what really matters, and that's this football game. So Deion, he said he's not a no. He said it matters where you graduate from, right? And he obviously did not graduate from Florida State University. So he says he's not a no, and let's talk about this real quick, because y'all know me, I've criticized Deion for his approach of building Colorado. If he can pull it off, kudos to him. I just don't believe what he did this offseason was sustainable. Is not the word. I just don't know if it's actually going to be functional to add that many players in one offseason and then say, I'm going to put a quality product on a football field. I think that is, I don't know, right? I don't know if that's feasible. I don't criticize Deion, however, for his approach to recruiting, because as a head coach, man, it's his job to get the best players on his team. So if that means, going after Charles Lester and some of the other guys that Florida State's been targeting, like whatever. That's his job, right? But it's in my opinion, man, it's starting to become abundantly clear to me that Deion Sanders is hurt. Deion Sanders holds a grudge. Him not getting offered the job or getting the job here after Willie bothers him. He has a problem with it, and he's done his damnness. And those comments that he just made today, in my opinion, kind of confirm it. He is. This is way more personal than maybe I originally thought it was. Him targeting Florida State's players in the transfer portal, and obviously going after some of the key recruits, which I still say is his job to do. But the comments kind of say, okay, this is more than just him being the head football coach at Colorado or Jackson State or, wherever he's going to be at. Yeah, he's taking that personal. And that's his, that's his decision. I don't know what made him think Florida State would go from Willie to him. But man, he's throwing shots and all that. Look, if you don't want to be considered a Knoll, bruh, don't be considered a Knoll. At the end of the day, no one can take away what you did at this university, and vice versa. No one really wants to take away from what you did at the university. I think most Florida State fans appreciate what you did for the university. I think most Florida State fans are a fan of you on the football field. However, making comments like I'm not a Knoll and saying stuff like that, I mean, that doesn't help. You won't be the coach at Colorado forever. We know that. Good luck with your approach. Good luck with your approach on this, because Florida State fans we're fickle. And one thing I know about us, we rock with those who rock with us. And even the people that are supporters of Deion, I got to think that they don't take that comment. And if you're a real Florida State fan, I got to believe that you don't take those comments. You don't take those comments lightly. Now you can argue, well, he's just playing for the camera. And quite frankly, I think a lot of what that media what Colorado media has done up until this point, and I think will continue to do, has been all about getting the likes and the clicks and the views. And that's okay. That's what he's kind of built this whole college coaching career off of: quotes and smart remarks and catchphrases and slogans. And so this is just another play in the Deion genius media manipulation handbook. So he definitely thought that out. I don't think that question that was asked, which I think was actually by a Hurricane reporter, I don't know who exactly asked that question, but from what I read, it was somebody that covers Miami. And she asked about how all the people that he's brought close to the team have all been former Hurricanes. And then she mentioned something about him being a Knoll, and then he refuted being a Knoll and all of those things. Look, I don't think that's an accident. I don't think he didn't know that question was coming. I think that was all played and planned out. And he's playing up this villain role, and that's fine. But Florida State fans aren't going to take it as that, and they're going to come for him. You playing with fire. We'll see if he gets burnt or not in terms of the fan base, because there's still a large section of the fan base that supports him and roots for him and all of that, which is fine. Again, I don't have any personal gripes on Deion. I just talk about that. I don't think what he's doing at Colorado is gonna like translate. And there's some other things and comments and quotes that he's made in regards to the type of players he recruits and these things that I haven't been a fan of. But again, it's Deion playing the media, and he knows what he's doing, and he knows what's going to get was gonna get buzz and feedback and get him trending on social media. So yeah, I get all of that. I know all of that. And you see Jay, what's going on? He just mentioned it, and you've seen this from other people saying, let's unretire that number. I've always been, y'all know me, if you have been watching me longer than a day, I've always said that we should unretire the number. That was even before Deion took the Jackson State job and flipped Travis. I've always said unretire the number, not as a slight to Deion Sanders, but as a reward for the top DB on the team to wear that number, right? That number should never go to a freshman unless the freshman's just like a transcendent type player. But I've always said, man, you should use that number to put on the best DB on the team. And not just on the team, but, you know, a dog at that. Like that number shouldn't just go to anybody. If that means one season you don't have a number 2, then guess what? You just don't have a number 2. I don't want to see that number on offense either. That number should be strictly for that secondary. So for me, it's not a big deal. Like, unretire the number because I've been calling for that. But maybe this, you know, if he's not a no, if I'm Mike Norvell and I hear those comments, or I'm Mike Alford and I hear those comments, and I'm saying to myself, okay, Deion, you want to play the game? Let's play the game. Let's unretire the number. Let's throw that number on Ronaldo Green. Is he worthy of being number 2? I don't know. But let's make our own statement. Let's play the game with him. I think would be fun. You know, I don't have a problem with it. We could play the game with Deion and go back and forth. You ain't a no, let's throw number 2 on Ronaldo Green. You ain't a no, let's throw number 2 on Fentrell Cypress, right? If you're not a no. I think I wouldn't have a problem with it personally. So for me, bring the number back. You know, I don't care what Deion says. The games are about to get played. And Colorado's about to either get exposed, or he's going to show that maybe he's somewhat of a genius in this college football landscape. Because we're going to find out very quickly. We're going to find out very quickly if Deion's strategy is going to work at Colorado. For me, I think he's lucky that he's getting TCU first game. I know TCU made the college football playoff last year. I know they made the championship game last year. However, they did lose. You know, they lost a quarterback to the NFL. They lost that number 1 receiver. I think he was a first-round pick. You lose him to the NFL. So they lost some guys. I think that was also like a senior team, right? So you lost some dudes. You are getting a TCU that's they have some questions to answer. Are they for real, or are they going to have to rebuild after what happened last year? Or are they in the mode of reloading? You know, so there's some questions with TCU. I do think TCU is kind of a lucky first game for them, because I'm not sure TCU is going to be the team we saw last year, and a team that is, you know, going to be inputting a lot of new pieces might favor well for Colorado, who's also, you know, kind of in the same boat. So it's going to be interesting to see. For me, ultimately, I still think TCU wins, and it wouldn't surprise me if they won big. However, it also wouldn't surprise me if Colorado kept this game fairly close, because, again, I don't know what TCU is, and TCU is going to have some answers to answer, some questions to answer. I said answers to answer. Some questions to answer game 1 against Colorado. So bring back Brownlee and give him number 2. Tyler, you're going too far. You're going too far, buddy. Heck no. So we'll see though, man. We'll see what happens with Deion, man. But out of Deion's own mouth, guys, he's not a no. So hey, you're a Deion fan and you're a Florida State fan, which I do understand there are Deion fans who aren't FSU fans. If you're a Deion fan and you're a Florida State fan, put in a comment how you feel about that quote from Deion. So let's get into it, though, man. Enough about Deion. We talked about Deion. It is what it is. Deion's going to continue to say what he's going to say, especially knowing that he's never going to see FSU on the football field. So he's going to continue to say what he's going to say. LSU, man. LSU. We talked a little bit about this game yesterday. If you missed that live stream, go check it out. We talked a lot about the depth chart and some of the things that going into this game. I kind of want to focus on the actual game today and just focus on, like, I'm looking, again, I did some research last night, and I'm looking at the statistics of that game, and that offense was a strictly all Daniels or bust. LSU could not run the ball. Daniels had over 100 yards rushing. The next closest player in rushing was Noah Cain with 23 yards. And Daniels had over 200 yards passing. So altogether, the man had over 300 yards of offense and I think 2 touchdowns or something like that. He did not, or he was the only thing in that offense. And now I'm looking at, okay, they obviously got better throughout the year. So did Florida State. The matchup really is interesting because I don't know where LSU has improved to make me think that the game plays, and I get it, right? I get it. This is an entire year ahead. This is not the same not the same teams on either side of the ball. So I'm looking and I'm going, okay, FSU didn't even give up a sack to these guys. From when I researched, didn't give up a sack. No sacks on Jordan Travis in that game. I'm very just from a X's and O's matchups. I don't know where LSU has a clear advantage. So I think that's something that's worth a discussion today. Like, if you're Florida State, what are your concerns? If you're LSU, what are your concerns? How do you match up against your concerns? I think those are all valid questions, man, that we can go over for a little bit today. You know, I got a little bit of time, so that's why I'm live. And I'm gonna try to do this. I don't know if I'm gonna do it every day, but I'm gonna try to give y'all something every day or every other day until game day. So I'm gonna try and do my best with that. Deion is obviously bitter about not getting the job. I think that he's starting to show that now. What's good, bro? Just want to see you talk around the FSU watering hole tonight. Appreciate you, caveman. If we play Colorado, we would whoop them for sure. Make Daniels a thrower and we win again. I don't disagree. And Colorado wins 3 games this year. Hard to see them winning much more than that. Yak crew, I'm not even gonna lie to you, and that's not being a hater. That's just an honest assessment. I don't necessarily disagree. Daniels, man, that's where it starts and stops for LSU to me. I can't see any other. Now, I do think they added a running back transfer who's supposed to be fairly good from Notre Dame. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think they added a guy out of the transfer portal. Speaking of transfer portal, man, like, Florida State gets all this heat because we go to the portal, man, and we get quality football players. LSU, their starting quarterback, transfer guy. They have 2 running backs, Noah Cain and now this guy from Notre Dame, 2 transfer running backs. An entire secondary that's almost built out of the transfer portal. Go check what they did in the transfer portal. They added a bunch of defensive linemen from the transfer portal. Crazy. I don't understand why LSU doesn't get the same heat that the Seminoles get for addressing their needs in the portal. I don't get it. At all. But LSU has added some guys in the portal. Again, they've got Daniels. It starts and stops with that. Not much of a running game last year. That doesn't mean they won't be able to run the ball this year, but I think if you're a Florida State fan, you got to like your chances with that. I think you got to like your chances with stopping the run. All that talk about those receivers. Neighbors did, 43 yards last year or something like that. And he muffed 2 punts. Now, he's probably going to be looking to have a bounce-back game, as he should be. But what about any of this should have a Florida State fan concerned? It's almost, and I said this about a month ago, because that was like the last time I was going live on a regular basis. But I said this, over a month ago. Like, I think we are overrating LSU to a degree, man. I really think we're overrating them. I don't want to say they're a bad team, because I don't believe they're a bad team. I know they have talent. I know they made the SEC championship game and all of that good stuff. But man, the more I just look at what I'm looking at, I don't see where, like, who on offense, not named Daniels, am I game planning for? If I'm Adam Fuller, who on this offense am I going, I got to pay attention to this guy? Could there be a surprise? Sure. It's a brand new year. Somebody definitely could have emerged from LSU that wasn't quite ready last year. But then I always circle back to Florida State. We're right there too. For everybody that wants to say, well, LSU's got X, Y, and Z, well, again, there are players that are going to impact this game that did not have an impact or play much at all, if any, in last year's game. Pat Payton being one. Right? That's the big one I can think of, right? Pat Payton. Trey Benson did not have a big game against LSU last year. Okay? Florida State had Jazdyn Turrentine out there at tackle. We're much better at our tackle spots a year later with Byers or Bliss Harris, regardless of who starts, right? Both probably better football players than Turrentine was. They couldn't do anything with Pookie Wilson, who had over 100 yards receiving. Is Keon Coleman not an upgrade to that? I think so. The tight end room was about hit or miss last year. Oh, all of a sudden, Jaheim Bell and Morlock and Biscuit are all of a sudden. I'm looking, and I don't see who I'm game planning for outside of Daniels. I don't see it. If you see it, please say their names. I see Neighbors again. Neighbors has shown me nothing that I have to game plan for. Doesn't mean he's not somewhat of a talented player or anything. I'm sorry if I'm just not high on the Malik Neighbors hype as much as Again, I heard this hype last year, and it didn't move me last year, and it's not moving me this year. Jason Taylor's son at tight end. Is that just because he's Jason Taylor's son? Or is he actually, a productive football player? I'd have to go check the stats, because I'm not too sure about any of that. The only person on that team that I think has an impact that you can't account for is Perkins. I think that linebacker's the real deal. And I'm interested to see what we do offensively to maybe negate his impact. Do we have to do anything specific offensively to negate his impact? I'm not too sure. So I'm just curious. If you're Florida State, I'm not saying you got to go in there super confident and cocky, but is anybody on that offense really worrying you? Last year, your corners were Ronaldo Green. Who played opposite of Ronaldo Green? Jerrion Jones most of the time, I think. Cypress not an upgrade. There are people who were saying Fentrell Cypress wasn't going to be the starter based on spring. And take that for what you want. I never subscribed to that, just because spring isn't the end all be all to anything, right? Sure enough, Fentrell Cypress starting opposite of Ronaldo Green. So I don't know, man. I don't feel moved. And that doesn't mean that we're gonna go out there and blow these guys out. Again, I think it's an even matchup. I'm just a believer, man. If Florida State does what they're supposed to do, the game plays kind of similar to last year, minus the hiccups. FSU should have won comfortably last year. It would not shock me if we won comfortably this year. Am I wrong in my assessment? Maybe. You guys can help me out. Stroking the Flame says the tight end is legit. Season approaching. Finna be back in here every show. Appreciate that, Kusami. I think Norvell will bring an entire playbook. Everybody scores. Look at LSU, though. They have 4 guys minimum to game plan for, just on offense. Do they? What's good, Panama says. Happy to see you doing well. Thank you. Thank you. Norvell about to unload the clip. We got to be at every position except for backer. If we lose, it's on us making mistakes. Why? That's why Deloach is so pivotal. Them being favored is so crazy to me. Such an easy bet. I kind of agree with you, Ben. I think they're only favored because it's LSU and the SEC. I just want somebody. I would like a LSU fan was possibly in here. I'm not sure any LSU fans are. I'm just curious to know, if you're an LSU fan, what position group would you say is just flat out better than Florida State's? Let's just go. Let's do it. And obviously, I'm biased, right? I'm a Florida State fan. Quarterback, I'll call quarterback a wash. Do I think Jordan Travis is better than Daniels? I actually do. But I'm just, for the sake of an argument, right? I'm going to say quarterback position is a wash. Both guys have similar strengths with their legs. I think one guy's actually a better passer. You guys know who I'm talking about. But for the most part, I will say the quarterback position is a wash. We'll say that those two guys even each other out. Okay. Running back room. It's got to be Florida State, right? Who was LSU's leading rusher last year? I think it was Daniels. I'd have to go check. I think it was Daniels. I don't know what Kane didn't have, but like 500 yards or something like that on the year. Again, they brought in a transfer, but hey, when FSU brings in transfers, it's a problem. Florida State's got a transfer too, Keziah Holmes. Also, Lawrence Toafili. Like, we forgetting that guy's still in the game plan. FSU's got the better backfield. Offensive line. Interesting. LSU's O-line goes into this season with a lot of hype. Again, they had some true freshmen, some talented true freshmen last year, and the expectation is that, obviously those guys got better through the year. The expectation is that offensive line should be a whole lot better. There's a high expectation for their O-line. Well, Florida State's returning probably the most veteran O-line in the country. Robert Scott, redshirt senior. Casey Roddick, redshirt senior. Maurice Smith is a redshirt senior. Is he not? Meach, redshirt senior. Bless Harris is a redshirt senior. Holy cow. And that's not, Byers is a redshirt junior. Keandre Jones is a redshirt junior. They're going to the second wave. I think Darius is either a junior or a senior. I bet you've got the most veteran line in the entire country, most likely. Which O-line's better? That's probably another push. Again, just to be fair, I'm going to say that's another push. You say tight ends? Okay, I'm hearing Jason Taylor's tight end. Jason Taylor's son is a good tight end. Okay, cool. Jaheim Bell. Do those two players cancel each other out? Okay. Now let's get into the depth chart. FSU's probably got the nod at tight end. And then wide receiver room. There's Neighbors. Is Neighbors better than Johnny or Coleman? And then who's opposite of Neighbors? I know they got some talented young guys, but they're just that, young guys. FSU goes Coleman, Johnny, Winston Wright. Oh, then you had Dustin Hill, then you had Tron. Maybe the wide receiver room's a push if you're being nice, because outside of Neighbors, I don't know any of those other guys. And if you're giving me a bunch of highly touted freshmen, okay, that's cool. FSU has their own highly touted freshmen, right? I actually think Florida State has the edge in wide receiver. But for sake of argument, we can say another push. So 3 positions on offense, quarterback, O-line, and receiver are a push. And I think FSU has obvious strengths in the running game and tight end. Who's the better team? Stop me if I'm being biased. Again, I'm not an LSU fan, so are there players that I don't know about? Absolutely. There's depth pieces that I don't know about. I think FSU tops them at wide receiver too, but I know I know the talking points. I know the narrative is LSU's got, amazing wide receiver room, just like last year. So for me, it's like, offensively, man, I think Florida State's got the nod. Offensively. I just saw the JSU Hail Mary video, and I had to share it because every time I watch that video, I laugh myself. That was a night to remember. Anybody that was around for that game and watched this live stream, and I did like 9 hours that night after that. That was a hell of a night. And see, Vontae say I'm being nice on the pushes because I'm trying to be objective here. I'm not, I can come in here and say Florida State's better here. I'm just trying to be a little bit of an objective, Vontae. That's why I'm being nice on the pushes. Again, I'll give quarterback room a push. I'll give receivers a push, and I'll give O-line a push. That's it, though. Let's move the defense. There's no Mason Smith. Granted, we don't have Darrell Jackson. I think Mason Smith's better than Darrell Jackson. That's fine. But without Mason Smith, though, I honest to God question, what else do they have on that D-line? Again, this is a offense. If we think the O-line is better this year, this is an O-line that didn't give up a sack to LSU last year. Is all of a sudden they lost the Ali Gay dude, the dude that did the illegal hit on Jordan Travis. He's not even on the team anymore. I think he's in the NFL. Mason Smith is suspended. Who's on the defensive line for LSU that we should be worried about? I'm not saying they don't have any guys. I'm not saying they didn't recruit any guys. I'm sure they did. I know they got some guys in the transfer portal. Are there any game changers? Do they have a Jarrett Verse on their defensive line? Do they even have a Pat Payton on their defensive line? What about in the interior with no Smith? Do they even got a Fabian Lovett? What about a Joshua Farmer? What about a Braden Fisk? FSU gets the check mark on D-line, period. If they got somebody, let me know. I see they got Wingo, who is nice, but he ain't no Verse or Pat. Okay, so that's one name. I just named, 4 or 5 guys. Backer might be the only room where you can have a conversation on the defense. And that's because they have arguably the best linebacker in this game, and Harold Perkins. I'll give them that. But who else do they got in the linebacker room? FSU's got, obviously, Deloach, Bethune, Lundy, whatever you see from Lundy. Lundy's a good situational player. Omar Graham and Blake Nicholson on the depth chart. So we'll see how those guys, if they play any meaningful snaps. I think LSU has the better football player at linebacker. I think Florida State might have the better linebacker room. Right? So what's more meaningful? The better individual player or the better collection of guys? We'll see. We'll see how much of an impact Perkins has on this game. I think Florida State has the better linebacker room. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I may be. I'm going to give another nod to FSU on linebacker. And then you go in the secondary. Again, you brought in Denver Harris, who's proven nothing in college football. Other than that, he was a 5-star, highly touted guy coming out of high school. Well, Fentrell Cypress has already proved it in D1 football. Ronaldo Green's already proved it in D1 football. They brought in Chestnut from Syracuse. I got tape of FSU receivers owning that guy. Does LSU have a better secondary than Florida State? I'll wait, because I don't think so. So when you break this thing down position by position, I'm being serious when I tell you where does LSU have the advantage. Because I don't really see an advantage on offense or defense. I really don't. I see a couple even matchups. I think Florida State is favored almost in every. You take away the even matchups, and I think FSU has the better position groups overall. Hold on. I'm catching up in the comments, y'all. Polk, how you feeling about Fitz? I can't get last year at NC State out of my mind. I don't trust them. I mean, that's a fair criticism. Do they maybe have the edge on in place kicker? They might. That might be the only like clear edge they have. And by the way, didn't we block their kicker twice? So what does that mean for us and going into this game? We block Perkins, we'll be fine. Chat keeps jumping on me, y'all. Give me a second. They didn't have a wideout go for more than 48 yards, and they didn't have a back run for more than 23. Daniels will not rush for 144. Hey, there you go. We never owned Chestnut. We roasted Chestnut, though. I like that. I like that, Briley. My tune has been the same since the end of the game last year. We should have won by at least 2 possessions. I think Jermaine's year was better than Versus' first year, personally. I agree with that. But, man, I think Versus is going to go crazy this year. I think he plays himself into a top 10 pick. Now, we should beat LSU 45-23 last year, man. We got a chance to make a statement. We take care of LSU. We will be a top 4 team in America going into Clemson week 4. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. I think the only thing that gives me pause in this game is we don't have the Duquesne game, where I do think the Duquesne game is a little overblown, though you can't deny a chance to play an inferior opponent, which is get some live action, live bullets thrown at you, and be able to work through that, get some stuff on tape that you can then go back to and work throughout the week. I do think it helped, though I think it might be a little overblown. It might be a little overblown. So we don't have that going into this season. But LSU doesn't have a week 0 game either. So we're still meeting even in the middle. I'm just saying, man, position from position group, I fail to see where LSU has the advantage. At best, they're even at some position groups. I just don't see where they have an advantage. And then if you want to talk coaching, is Brian Kelly really a better coach than Mike Norvell? I know that might be a crazy question to some. Mike Norvell has coached against Kelly every year since he's been at Florida State. And Kelly has had clearly the more talented teams the first 2 years. Now, the first year, he smashed us, but everybody smashed us in the COVID year. Second year, we kind of gave that game away. And that's an 0-4 team to start that season. And Notre Dame was clearly more talented than Florida State that season, and we gave him a run for his money. And again, probably should have won that game. Then last year, again, all things being even, dare I say, Mike Norvell got the best of Kelly. He almost got in his way a little bit, and you can argue some questionable calls for Mike Norvell and company down the stretch of that game. Those are fair criticisms. I don't have any problem with any of that. But I'm starting to struggle, or I don't necessarily believe Kelly's just as flat-out better coach. He's more accomplished than Mike, absolutely. He's accomplished more in college football than Mike Norvell's had. That's mostly he's been in the Power 5 way longer than Mike Norvell has coached Power 5 ball, right? But if you answered and said, you know what, I think Mike Norvell's actually a better coach than Kelly, I don't know if I can disagree. I don't know if I can disagree. One guy's just more accomplished, and he's coached longer. One guy, all intents and purposes, has coached this man head to head for the last 4 years, and he's 2-1, and he's 1-2 to be fair. But Kelly's had the obvious advantage over Mike in 2 of those years. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know. I don't think there's a gap in coaching. I don't think there's a gap in, obviously not a gap in talent, right? Jeff with a $10 dono says, if you look at the resume, how many championships did Kelly have? How many championships does Kelly have the same as? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's had a championship appearance. I think he's had a playoff appearance. But he has no more championships than Mike Norvell. I mean, I guess technically he does have an ACC championship, right? They won the ACC, the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken. So he does have that over Norvell, but and I'm not here. I see Char says, I see no reasons why we shouldn't beat LSU to it. I'm not here to tell you that we're going to blow this team out. I know that's how it's sounding, or how I come across. I'm coming across as like this game shouldn't be close. And I'm not saying that, because I do think, you can't never count them Louisiana boys out, right? They are talented. They are going to come to play. They're not going to come to back down. They're not like the Coral Gable kids. Shots fired. They're not going to give up. I don't believe so anyway. But you're going to have a hard time convincing me that FSU shouldn't be favored in this game. I think it's the SEC. I think, media tends to give SEC the nod in situations like this. But I think I just kind of broke it down. Again, this is it's kind of one-sided on my part, because I don't know all of LSU's depth chart. I don't know any of those hidden weapons or secret gems that they might have, that could change the dynamics of the team. For instance, if you look at Florida State, there's some guys that are maybe unknown right now, but like AZ, right? Nobody's really talking about AZ. Florida State fans know AZ all too well. What impact does he have on this game? So I'm sure LSU has some players like an AZ or an Omar Graham, or if you think at the offensive side of the ball, maybe a guy like Dustin Hill, that unknown commodity right now, but has a chance to really take this team to the next level. But I again, until I see it, I can't really talk about it. Come Sunday night, we're gonna find out what LSU is and who they have. Because as of right now, I don't see a team that has drastically improved over the course of a year. I'm not saying they're not a better football team. I don't think they've outpaced Florida State. I don't think so. So that's just how I feel on that one. We can't just deny. We can't just deny what he did at Notre Dame, even though they never got it done. Notre Dame was the top 5 team in America annually. Well, I don't know if they were top 5 to 10. Kelly had some years at Notre Dame where he didn't make bowl games. So it's not like he's been in the playoff or in the championship picture every year at Notre Dame. Again, I definitely think he's a more accomplished football coach than Mike Norvell. He's coached longer. That tends to be that's going to happen, right? He's definitely more accomplished. Just from a head-to-head matchup between the two, again, can we clearly say, Norvell, all things being even, I don't know if Kelly's out-coached Mike. I think he's just had more talented teams, and the moment Mike Norvell had a team with at least adequate talent level compared to Kelly's team, he beat him. So we'll see. We'll see what happens this year, though. How do I feel about Morlock starting over Biscuit? I don't think it matters. I think the tight ends are going to rotate heavy anyway, so I'm not sure it matters. Morlock starting over Biscuit, I don't think it matters. I think AZ gets a pick, bruh. He's crazy athletic. Can you use the pen like John Wick does? I don't know. Let's see if anybody walks in here and we'll find out. You think Destin Hill records I do. I do think they get the ball in his hands. I do. As a matter of fact, I think one of the first things they'll do with Destin Hill, for one, he's from Louisiana, so I definitely think he's on the field and they're going to play him. How many snaps? Don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. I think what they'll do early is they'll get the ball in his hands and just see what he can do. I would expect Dustin Hill to line up in the slot and for them to do a screen pass, some type of quick pass to him to see, okay, let's get the ball in his hands. Can he make a guy miss or two? And then can that speed take – like if Dustin Hill's first reception is like 8 to 10 yards or something like that, or he can move the chains, watch out. Watch out. So the spring game, Tyler – and you look at what they did with Vandrevius Jacobs in the spring game. And early in that spring game, they did a lot of quick passes to Jacobs to just get the ball in his hands. And it didn't quite work out in the spring game, but it's the spring game. My point is, I think you're going to see something similar to that with Hill. I think they're going to get the ball in his hands early and see can he make some plays. Plus, that brings the defense up, right? Ultimately, what do you want if you're Mike Norvell? You want Syracuse, You want LSU to be covering those two receivers on the outside one-on-one because they're worried about the slot and the tight ends over the middle or the fact that you can just hand the ball off and run it down their throat. You want those safeties up. You want them to say, okay, good on the outside, and you know we're going to take our chances with that. Kelly averaged the 12th rated recruiting class at Notre Dame, averaging 5 stars, 12 4-stars, and 9 3-stars per year. Kelly should do better at LSU, but I think Norvell will eventually lap Kelly. Polk got level 26 combative training. Man, nah. Respectfully, I disagree. I think Norvell is a great coach, but you also have to – hold on. It jumped. Give me a second. You also have to think about strength and schedule. I think Brian Kelly was pretty impressive his first year in the SEC compared to Norvell, assuming you mean the ACC. I don't disagree with that. And, again, I'm simply talking about them two head-to-head. I don't disagree that he played tougher teams in the SEC. Florida State did not have a tough schedule last year, which is why I remember at the beginning of last year I thought the 3-game stretch was pivotal. Now, we lost all 3 of those games, yet we still finished with a good record and finished the season strong. But if you remember this time last year, I was very critical of those 3 games. I thought we had to at least, obviously you would like to go 3-0, but I mean, at least got to win one of those 3 games. We did not. So that is a fair point, right? LSU, they beat Alabama. They beat, who else did they beat? I know they beat Alabama and the like. So you're not wrong. So I'm more so talking about them head-to-head, but you're not wrong, right? He was able to navigate the SEC waters, and he end up in end up in the SEC championship. So you do got to give him credit. You do got to give him credit. If you told me last year Dustin Hill would catch a football for FSU game 1, I think most people would think you were on some kind of drug for sure. What's up, Allen Boy? Kelly took over a team that was already talented. Look at what Norvell did in a way less talented FSU team 2 years ago against Notre Dame. And that's kind of where I look at it too. I'm kind of on Antoine's. I kind of have it from that view of. Now, Ed Orgeron did kind of lose that LSU team by the end, but as we always say, right, that LSU team still had talent. Because, Kelly didn't recruit Neighbors, and he didn't recruit Boutte, and, he didn't recruit some of those talented players that they already had on that team. Norvell 2 years ago The best player on that team is Jermaine. I mean, we had, for God's sake, he had Jarvis Brownlee playing corner for us. I mean, that tells you how down bad we were. Just from the talent level, Jarvis Brownlee's a starting corner for you. At that time, Donta Lucas is still on your starting O-line. And we can go down the list of names, and you guys are going to be like, oh, man, how far we've come in 2 years. So I kind of look at it from that standpoint. When I say I think Mike Norvell might have or might be a better coach, I'm just looking at it from the type of teams that they've fielded against each other. Kelly's had the obvious advantage in 2 out of the 3 games. And he won those 2 games, though that second game, we kind of gave that one up. When you were stationed in Hawaii, it wasn't. No, I was stationed on the island of Oahu. Schofield Barracks, to be more precise. The bro bring up Donta Lucas. Am I lying, though? Am I lying is the point, right? So, I just think the matchups, okay, let's go to specific players. Okay, we already mentioned, for instance, Pokey Wilson. Well, he torched LSU last year. He was the best receiver in the game. Had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Best receiver in the game. Is Keon Coleman better? We put it like this. Keon Coleman is a NFL prospect. Ontario Williams was never really considered that. Now, Pokey was also in the offense longer, so he knew some things. Keon's still going to learn some of that stuff. Did we upgrade? The simple question. Did Florida State upgrade receiver to go from Ontario to Keon? Is that an upgrade? And you bring back Johnny. I'll let y'all answer that one. As I move on to the next player, Cam McDonald. Did we upgrade tight end with Cam McDonald to Jaheim Bell? Offensive line. I already mentioned offensive line. Right? I already mentioned offensive line. Jasden Turrentines out there. Because Bless Harris gets hurt game 1. Is Bless Harris or Jeremiah Byers a upgrade over Jasden Turrentine? You lose Dylan Gibbons, to be fair, but you got Casey Roddick. Are they similar? Is Roddick better than Gibbons or the same? Is he a little worse? I don't know. My guess is Roddick is in the same level. We'll see, though. My guess is they're in the same level. That's just on the offense, guys. If you go to the defense, D-Mac, gone. Everybody knows the answer. Is Pat an upgrade over D-Mac? Everybody knows the answer to that. Robert Cooper, gone. Is Fisk a better pairing or a better side-by-side player, a better match with Lovett than Coop? I think so. I think Fisk is a better complement to Fabian Lovett than Robert Cooper was. Did we upgrade there? I think we did. That's not even to mention that Joshua Farmer is now in the mix. So again, people talk about LSU being better. I'm here to tell you, not only did Florida State get better, but a lot of the things that we improved complement each other, I think, a lot better than what we had last year, and we were able to, eke out a victory last year. I didn't even get to the secondary where, again, I think your starting corners last year was Jarians and Ronaldo Green. Is Cypress an upgrade over Jarian? I would say so, because he's pushed Jarian into the nickel spot. Tells me that Cypress is a better outside corner than Jerrion Jones is. The only question in that secondary is Shaheem Brown, who we will, until he shows us otherwise, Shaheem Brown is a downgrade from Jamie Robinson. Now, I think Shaheem has the potential to be even better than Jamie was, but he has to show that. Shaheem does have to show that. And this is going to be a big stage for Shaheem being thrust. This is one of the major questions defensively for this team is the transition Shaheem goes through from being a rotational guy to now a full-time, full-fledged starter. Does he have the same or a similar impact or greater impact? Or does he play because now he's being asked to do more, you put more on his plate, can he not keep up? So I think Shaheem's going to have some questions to answer. I think Shaheem has all the talent to get it done, but he has to prove it, right? And he has to get it done. Fisk getting 1.5 sacks versus LSU. I like it. A basketball record prediction. Can we even make it to 10? Does anybody care about basketball, Shar? I'm sorry, but I don't care. How about Knowles possibly starting over Dent? I don't think Knowles gets the nod over Dent, though we'll see. You know? Man, this is FSU. We can't be good. Thank you. We can't be good at both. So which one you rather be good at? Because me, it's football all day. For me, it's football all day. We saw how that played out. We were good at basketball, and everything else was still miserable because the football team was great. It was a football school at the end of the day. But yeah, man, if I just look at it, one-on-one, matchup for matchup, and even the positions that I think we've upgraded for as far as personnel-wise, I don't know. I'm not saying we blowing this team out, but I go into this game with so much confidence. I'm not going to lie. I go into this game with so much confidence. If you told me, again, not calling a blowout, but if you told me Florida State won by 10 plus points, I wouldn't be shocked. And at this point, might even be expecting it. But we'll see what happens. Because again, I'm sure if you flip the table or flip the script, LSU could be saying a lot of the same things that we're saying. I'm just drinking water, man. But I don't see really any weakness on this team to be concerned about. And especially with the matchup. I think we just match up extremely well with this team, man. I think we match up extremely well. As far as like are we eating too much rat poison? Specify that question. I don't know what you mean necessarily. I care about all their sports, including baseball too. I think a lot of Florida State fans do care about the baseball team. I think I would argue that the baseball team is bigger or more important. Maybe not necessarily financially, but I think if you polled Florida State fans, I think more of them care about the baseball team than they care about the basketball team, if I'm being honest. Dent is going to have to step up. The coaches are basically leaving that door open for Knowles to take that spot. I think the coaches are leaving. Someone called me, so if I pause or if I'm currently paused or I don't know, but someone just called me, and obviously I'm on my phone. I hung up on them. I'll call them back. It's not important. Well, I won't say it's not important, but it's probably not important. Now I lost track of time. I lost track of what I was saying. Conrad Hussey, guys like that, I think are going to have a chance. I think are going to have a chance. Ashton Barker or whatever is going to have a chance. Hussey will have a spot next year for sure. Is our confidence overconfidence? Here's what I like to say, Damian. We're fans. We can be as confident or pessimistic or optimistic as we want to be. The question is, What's the team's confidence level? Or what's the team's mindset? And I'm going to use Georgia as an example because, in my opinion, and we know Georgia's uber talented, but what I don't think gets talked about enough with the Georgia Bulldogs is the masterful job Kirby Smart did with coaching that team. And I'm not necessarily talking about play calling or X's and O's. I'm talking about the fact that Kirby Smart was able to convince a team full of top 100 players, 5 stars at every level, other than quarterback. I find it absolutely incredible that he was able to convince a team built like that they sucked. That's an achievement. That's how you win back-to-backs. He was able to convince. Listen to those kids in the interviews throughout the season and after the champion. He was able to convince a team full of 5 stars that they were a 7-win football. That the nation, which nobody was saying this, by the way, but that the nation thought that was a 6-7 win team and that they weren't any good. Is Mike Norvell capable of keeping a team that has a ton of preseason expectations? Everybody in the media is talking about this team. A lot of people are sipping the Florida State Kool-Aid. Is he able to keep this team grounded? Is he able to convince Jarrett Verse that you ain't nothing yet? Is he able to convince Keon Coleman that you haven't proved anything? That's what's going to make it or break this team, I think. Kirby Smart did an amazing job of that last year. I don't know how he pulled it off. I'm interested to see, can Mike Norvell get that same kind of hunger out of this football team? Shouldn't be too hard because ultimately, even if there's a lot of expectation and some talent on this team, they still haven't accomplished anything or won anything. So it shouldn't be that hard to keep this team grounded. But that's the question I have. Forget whether the fans are confident or not. Is that team level-headed? I ain't hang up on no troops. And if I did, so what? I'm only a fan of FSU football / softball. What's up, Randy? The team seems pretty confident to me based on what they've told us. Whether that's overconfidence or not, who knows? I guess wouldn't be surprised if they were, though. What's up, Born Legacy? How good must Q Jones be to get the second team nod behind Nardo? Imagine next year with 2. Yeah, I mean, Jones was one of the ones that I thought was one of the shockers on the depth chart. Darius Jones, I thought, was one of the shockers on the depth chart for sure. Kirby, the top coach in the country to me. And, he should be looked at that way. He shouldn't be looked at that way. Knowles money line Sunday and the over-under I'm still skeptical on. I've heard Verse say that he believes they're a playoff team in an interview. And that's fine to believe that. You should feel like you're the best. But again, how does Mike Norvell convince them that they're not there yet? How do you keep them hungry? You know what I'm saying? Briley says he don't have any questions. Injuries could beat us in the regular season, but nobody on the schedule scares me. I don't disagree. It's the same thing I said last year, right? The schedule don't scare me. I think the schedule is actually easier than it was last year because there's, no NC State, no Louisville. The schedule's a little easier. No one on this schedule scares me. Injuries is always a possibility. You can't control that. But the consensus is this team is strength and conditioning went well. This team's healthy from all accounts. And even if they're, we talked about it months ago when we were kind of previewing the season. This team's got depth. Before, you couldn't afford to lose an O-lineman. Now, if a guard goes down, you got Keandre Jones to fill a guard spot. If a tackle goes down, Bless or Jeremiah going to be there to fill a tackle spot. That's not even counting the Jalen Early's the Julian Armellas, the Dontre Richardsons, Darius Washington, your swing O-lineman. Play any spot on the field if you need him to, as far as the O-line concerned. Not worried about O-line depth at all, right? Wide receivers, deep. Running back room, deep. What position is there to worry about? The only one, and any team in the country can say this, the only one is quarterback. That's not because we haven't recruited the position well, because we absolutely have. From all accounts, Brock Glenn's a dude. Tate Rodemaker's still number 2 on the depth chart, though. But from all accounts, Brock Glenn is a dude. But if any team loses their starting quarterback, they're in for a water hurt. I don't care who you are. That's not just a Florida State thing, right? That's any team. That's any team. Caleb Williams goes down, Lincoln Riley's in trouble. Drake May goes down, Mac Brown's in trouble, right? Any team loses that starting quarterback. Cade Klubnik goes down, Clemson's in a world of hurt. You saw what happened to Miami last year with TVD. Mertz, which Florida's in a world of hurt with Mertz as the starter, but don't let Mertz get hurt. So the point is, the only position that you worry about injuries is quarterback, but that's every team in the country. There's no team in the country that's sitting there saying, oh man, I hope my starter gets hurt because this guy we got going to tear. If that was the case, he'd be the starter. But I don't disagree with you, Briley. I ain't worried about nobody on this team. Nobody on the schedule. We took a lot of DBs. Maybe we got a bunch of hits. Hammer the spread if they're going to give FSU the points. Mike and Kirby seems to be opposite in terms of coaching style. Probably. Mike's definitely a player coach, or seems to be a player's coach, though Mike gets fired up too now. Norvell has not only upgraded. Oh, chat jumped. Norvell has not only upgraded that culture of the way he's starting to upgrade the roster. This year isn't the best team we'll see from Norvell. I don't think so either. Not with the way he's recruiting. I want you to think about this. Think about this right now, right here, right now, as it stands right now, as we look in the crystal ball in the near future. And I want you to look at the secondary, just the secondary next year. That's going to have K.J. Bolden, Charles Lester, Azariah Thomas, Edwin Joseph, and Conrad Hussey, all in the same secondary. Think about that for a second now. This is not the best team that Norvell's going to field. I agree with you. I agree with you. Duke's not beating Clemson, but again, it's Duke. And unless Duke starts the season undefeated, I'm not worried about Duke, man. I think they know that they missed on those 3 losses. Man, I'm shocked Bless ain't starting. Byers must really be stepped up in the fall. What's going on, Chad? You still think if JT and Tate both go down, they would go with Duffy over Glenn? That's a great question. That's also a situation I hope we don't find ourselves in, right? But I firmly think Glenn is a last resort. Glenn has the tools. I think Glenn is still a last resort. I don't think you burn a red shirt on a guy and you've recruited. You have a red shirt sophomore, right? Duffy's a redshirt sophomore, or is he still a redshirt? No, Duffy should be a redshirt freshman. Last year, Duffy was a freshman, right? Yeah. You have redshirt freshman, redshirt junior, both ahead of Glenn. I mean, Duffy would have to just be terrible for that to happen. I still don't think you burn. I don't think you burn Brock Glenn unless you toss Duffy out there and he just is a deer in headlights. That might be a good idea. Is FSU and Clemson leaving the ACC, or do we know yet? Bro, I think FSU is eventually going to leave the ACC. I don't know if it's going to be as soon as we think, but I also don't think it's like 10 years in the future. I think it's sooner than expected, but I think some of the stuff in the offseason had people thinking like Florida State was going to announce they were leaving the ACC like tomorrow. And I think the process is a little harder than that, right? But I don't think it's going to be like a 5 or 6 year process. Been arguing with LSU fans using the same lame talking points. That fumble changed the whole narrative of this year's game and why we're still underdogs for some dumb reason. Bro, at the end of the day, LSU fans can talk about the muff punts. FSU didn't capitalize off the turnovers, though. So, what's the point? I could see if all of our points had came off turnovers. Then you had to have an argument where LSU can say, man, we beat ourselves. We turned the ball over and y'all count. That wasn't the case. Florida State didn't convert on any of those turnovers. So ultimately, we still beat you despite your mistakes and despite our own mistakes. So, what's your thoughts on SMU, Cal, and Stanford joining? I don't care who joins the ACC. Florida State needs to get out of it. I don't care who joins the ACC. Let me repeat that, Ardavius, in case you don't hear me or anybody in the back don't hear me or anybody in ACC don't hear me. Turn the volumes up on your phone, computers, laptops, whatever you listening to me or watching me on. I don't care who joins the ACC. Florida State needs to leave it. The Dallas Cowboys could join the ACC. I don't give a good goddamn. I wouldn't be surprised if FSU goes independent. I don't know. Independent's interesting. The way college football is being set up, I think eventually like Notre Dame's going to be forced to join something. I think, but we'll see. I don't know if independent's the way to go. With the way the SEC and the Big Ten are positioning themselves, I feel like if you're not in one of those two conferences, right, you're not going to matter. Notre Dame has been able to afford to stay independent because of their own TV deal. Florida State doesn't have that. If we were able to somehow acquire something like that, then maybe. But the way right now we're structured, we need to be in one of those two mega conferences. To this day, Grill Master, I don't understand that how they got that extra play. To this day, I don't understand the rule with that extra play. To this day, I don't understand how that happened. Yeah, I know we was before the ACC, bro, but that was 30 years ago. College football's changed. You feel me? Like, that was 30 years ago. That's not the way the game is structured now. Notre Dame is overrated today. They think Sam Hartman is going to be the super. Yeah, I spoke a little bit about that yesterday. That's why they hired J.P. Morgan to raise capital to get out of the grant of rights. If they join, our only way out is paying. 3 more teams means more votes necessary to dissolve. Independent kills non-football sports. Without a conference, nobody gets scheduled. Yeah, I don't think independent's the way to go in today's day and age. I don't know if y'all saw that, but I just got water all over the place. Got a hole in my lip. But hit the like button, guys. I appreciate y'all for kicking it with me on this Tuesday evening. Again, I'm trying to give y'all something every day. Y'all know, man, you are still over. Look, don't let the absence for a month fool you. This is still 863 Seminole TV. It's still the most interactive place on YouTube for the Florida State football fan. You know, I know the community continues to grow. Don't let the absence fool you. I'm back. The season's back. And unlike the past 3 years of me doing this channel, we about to have fun this year. Well, we had fun last year, and we about to have a lot more fun this year. What conference you think we fit the best, though? Fit? I mean, the SEC would be, I guess, the better fit in terms of location, just the Southeast. We are close to Alabama, close to the Mississippi schools, close to Georgia. Like, being able to play all of those schools, and that's, Florida State fans travel. So those and a lot of the SEC schools travel. So you're talking about big games at Doak when, Florida State and Georgia. Big games at Doak, big games. I think the fit is the SEC. Now, I've always been the Big Ten guy just because the Big Ten's bringing in more money. And there's some fresh matchups in the Big Ten that I think a lot of people, including myself, I think it would be fun to see some of the Big Ten matchups. And I also think the Big Ten, is a little bit health. If you're telling me I'm getting paid more in the Big Ten and it's an easier road, I'll take the Big Ten all day. Because ultimately, it's Michigan, Ohio State. But I'm not worried about Purdue, Wisconsin, or Nebraska, or Iowa. Who else am I missing? Indiana, Illinois. Come on, bro. I'm not worried about none of those schools. Zip, nada. Penn State's up there from time to time. I'll give you Penn State. I'll give you Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. That's it. And I know they added USC and UCLA. But my guess is that there's going to be some type of split in the Big Ten. Obviously, not everybody's going to be traveling to the West Coast. But I think the Big Ten is the easier road. And the USC and UCLA don't bother me. I just watch USC. They still don't have a lick of defense. Any team under Lincoln Riley don't have a lick of defense. I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year. FSU, in my opinion, is a better team than USC, and we would beat USC. I like the matchup there. I like our matchup with USC, if that was ever to happen. So I think the better fit is the SEC from nostalgia, the pageantry of college football, things that make college football great and fun to watch. I think the SEC is the better fit. Business-wise, I think the Big Ten's the answer. All right, Ben, appreciate you for tuning in. Thanks, Randy. How much longer until you see these schools band together and think the pie is getting divided too much? That's interesting. That's an interesting question, too. But I almost feel like there's so much money in it. I don't know if... I think the money is just going to keep getting greater, so I don't know. That's a good question, though. Looking forward to your halftime rap. Y'all already know halftimes I'm going to be lit. I got the hell out of Tally today. That thing is coming way too close. Be safe, girl. Yep, y'all be safe. If you in that area. If you in the path of the hurricane, man, be safe. Dustin Hill, a.k.a. Fat, was ready a couple months ago. Panama, yeah, that's possible. Bad news. I hope the hurricane doesn't destroy everything. I got my tickets, and we'll be in Orlando for the game. Again, I think the hurricane could affect practice this week, but I don't think it's gonna affect Orlando much. Then I'm not a meteorologist either, so take your weather news from me with a huge grain of salt. By 2029, the SEC and Big Ten will be both playing out 129 million a year. See what I'm saying? Now, if that number's accurate, I don't know if that's accurate from Mayan King. I don't even know where Mayan King pulled that number out of his ass. But he may have got that from a reliable source. But that's my point. I think the number, the money is just going to continue to rise. When am I coming back? So, I never left the States, but I will be back home after the game. After the 5th, I'll be back home. SEC better culture fit. Big Ten has the academics and the money for now. Tally is as quiet as a mouse. That's usually the quiet before the storm, right? That's usually the quiet before the storm. So tomorrow, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to talk more of the broad Week 1 college football. Now, we can do a little bit of that tonight. We've already gone over an hour of just LSU, Florida State. And again, I think we've made the case that I don't know, man. I think Florida State has the nod over the Louisiana State Tigers. Tomorrow, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do more of a big college football picture in some of the other games. But I'm going to do some of that tonight because we got Utah and Florida coming up in a couple days. That's a Friday night game, correct? Utah and Florida. What are you guys' thoughts on Utah and Florida? In Utah, by the way, that is an away game. It's Thursday. Okay, so yeah, so not Friday, Thursday. My mistake. That is a away game for Florida, and this game is gonna tell me. This game is gonna tell me a lot. Away game. Utah's known to have a tough defense. Florida O-line might not be the same. I mean, the thought is that Florida's not going to be a good team this year. But what's up, Joe Johnson? But I have a funny feeling Utah will blow it like they did last year. They blew it last year too. So it wouldn't even shock me. But I'm gonna be very interested to see that. So here's the funny thing about it, right? We got Florida Thursday, Miami Friday. The Florida game is obviously the better football game. A lot more questions in that game. Seeing Mertz and that Utah, is Cam Rising playing in that game? That's the Utah quarterback. It was thought that he might not play. Then I hear some talks that he may play. Obviously, Florida State fans know Micah Pittman's in that game. Apparently, he's playing after some thought that he would miss a season. So Utah, obviously, they've won the Pac-12 the last 2 years. They've beaten the likes of Oregon and USC, and really have handled those teams, right? I say this all the time about Utah. They're the one Pac-12 team that isn't built like a Pac-12 team. They actually have guys in the front seven along the offensive line that handle their business, right? They're the one team in the Pac-12 that's not built like a Pac-12 team, which is why they've had so much success with Pac-12 teams. And they were able to keep it competitive with a team like Florida last year, who did have a good offensive line last year. And did have a solid D-line last year. Florida did. So my question becomes, what's the expectation here in this game? I think Florida fans, are going into this game definitely expecting to win it. But I don't know, man. I don't know if the D-line's as good as it was last year. You lose Gavon Dexter and some other guys along that D-line. Offensive line, you lost almost all your good players along the O-line. Could get ugly. You don't have Anthony Richardson's kind of legs to keep you in game, though. You talk to Florida guys, they tend to think Mertz is a better fit for Billy Napier. I mean, we'll see. I think we'll see. We'll see. What are you guys' thoughts, man? I kind of... Stroking the Flame said he kind of thinks Utah will blow it. And I kind of don't even disagree with that. Utah probably will blow it like they did last year. But there's a chance that Florida might get embarrassed. Utah Cam Rising may not be fully healthy. What it do? POLK, how you living? I'm living. Florida lost guys to the NFL on their O-line. 2 to the portal, and 1 blew his Achilles. But ask a turd, and they're going to run all over everybody. I don't think Rising will play, but their backup played 10 games last year. Utah's built like a Big Ten team, and improved Trey Benson is going tough tackle for LSU. Man, Utah down to the 3rd-string walk-on QB. No faith in them. That's a fair point. Can FSU take the number 2? Hey, go watch the beginning of the video, Jamal. I answered that one. What's up, Peter? What's up, Brandy? I think Utah will get it done at home. Man, did y'all see that UF starting an ex-walk-on at wide receiver? So, I think Florida has the advantage at the skill positions probably, right? I know Florida thinks they have a good secondary. Florida's got some talent, right? We're not going to pretend like the Gators don't have talent. They had talent last year, and they ultimately still only won 6 games. Utah's a good first, a big test for them week one. Big test for them week one. I can't really pick this game. I want to pick it. If you make me pick now, Utah at home, Mertz on the road. I'm actually going to go Utah, but I'm going to say a close game. I'm going to say low scoring, close game. And, it's 2023, so low scoring isn't like it used to be. I'm going to say 27-24 to Utes. That's what I got. I got 27-24 Utah. Right? I know Utah's not going to have a quarterback and maybe not both of their quarterbacks, and they might be starting them. I don't know. But Mert's going to have to show me something because I watched that spring game, and it's only the spring, but I got 20. What did I say? 27-24 Utah? Yeah, I got 27-24 Utah Utes. Jeff with the $5 says the difference in last year they had AR. They got that. Mertz is a terrible quarterback. Born Legacy say they got Utah by 9. Utah can pull it off. I think Florida might be down worse than we think. I don't see how Florida scores 3 touchdowns. That's fair point too. If FSU's get the running game going, LSU doesn't stand a chance. Let's move on to Miami and Miami of Ohio. The battle of who's the real Miami. This game is so funny to me. On paper, I don't know much about Miami of Ohio, right? So I'm not going to pretend like I know this team. Maybe some of y'all can give me some insight. Were they a good team last year? How many games did they win last year? I've done no research on Miami of Ohio. I'm not going to pretend like I did any research on Miami of Ohio. And yet, for some reason, if TVD doesn't play in this game, I don't know, man. I got a feeling. And this ain't me trolling, and I know it's a little funny. On paper, right? On paper, Miami should win this game fairly easy. On paper, Miami should probably be... What are they? Anybody know the spread on this one? On paper, my guess is Miami should be a 17-point favorite or something like that. Again, I don't know how good Miami of Ohio was last year, and I don't know who they're bringing back. I don't know anything about that football team. I know what Miami has. And on paper, Miami should win this football game. And they should probably win it easy. And this arguably could be the type of game that you do sit TVD. Right? This on paper, this is the type of game where if TVD is banged up, and Miami has Texas A&M early in the year. Now, TVD's got to play in that game. So, theoretically, you sit TVD from Miami of Ohio. Ja'Cory Brown should be good enough, though, no, from what we saw last year, I wouldn't say all that. On paper, it's an 18-point, okay, so Miami's an 18-point fave. On paper, you should be able to sit TVD and win. I don't know, though. I'm telling you, man, if TVD doesn't play in this game, I'm interested to see how this game shakes. Miami should win this thing easy. If Miami finds themselves... I'm going to say this. I don't think Miami loses. Okay? I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't think Miami loses this game. But if Miami of Ohio keeps this thing respectable, within 10 points, you feel me? Like, I think Miami might be in for some trouble. We'll see how much better the corner play has gotten. Middle Tennessee just bombed them. I don't know what type of offense Miami of Ohio is really running. Again, on paper, this shouldn't be a game. I don't trust Ja'Cory Brown if he's the starting quarterback. He's going to run it for sure. But I'm not sure I trust it. O-line should obviously be better, even if Ja'Carry Brown's the starter. I don't think Miami of Ohio has a front. That should concern Miami. Again, on paper, I can't with a straight face say I think Miami's going to lose this game. If I said that, I'd be lying and trolling. So with a straight face, I cannot say that Miami of Ohio beats the Coral Gable Hurricanes, right? But I gotta tell you, if I don't see TVD and this is a whole Ja'Carry Brown show and he's looking like the same guy last year who can only run and can't, if he's a tight end playing quarterback again, I don't know. Right? I can see Miami in a position where they are close with a team that they shouldn't be close with. And you can get shocked at the end of the game, man. Florida State fans know about that. We've seen it. Right? If you keep a team close that you shouldn't be close with, anything can happen at the last moments of a football game. If that game is close, Miami fans are going to be in a depression. Believe me. What's that? Something up there. Might be a bird up there. If that game is close, Miami fans are going to be in the spaces. They're going to be asking a lot of questions about Mario and company. God forbid they lose it. They lose that game. Be prepared. Be prepared. Know that Scar song on The Lion King? Be prepared. Yeah. Be prepared. Ultimately, I don't think Miami loses. I want to even say I don't think it's going to be close. I think Miami wins somewhere in the ballpark of, let's say 38-17. Something like that. That's what I think. Let's see what y'all talking about in the comments. My prediction for LSU and Florida State, I gave it a month ago, but I'll do it again. I gave it yesterday too. What did I say? Did I say 38-24? I think is what I said. 38-24 or something like that. Or 38-27, somewhere around that. One of those two scores. I just retired out of the Navy a few months ago. Lots of Seminole fans in the military. I was rocking the FSU flag at the top of an aircraft carrier I was on. Shout out to you, bro. And happy retirement. Happy retirement. What part of Polk are you from? Lakeland. TCU or Colorado? I think TCU, but I think Colorado has a chance in that game. Or I think Colorado is getting a lucky draw in this game. TCU's got a lot to prove that they're just not a one-hit wonder last year, and they lost some key pieces. So I think a lot of it sets up well for Colorado, right? I do think a lot of it sets up well for Colorado if they are going to be taken serious, because I don't think TCU's the same team they were last year. Don't know much about Miami of Ohio, how good or bad they are. The last time I think they were any good when that's the case. That was a long time ago. Travis Hunter for height. You know, I'm not a Travis Hunter hater at all. My question, Black Shear, and I don't know if that's a serious question or whatever. What have we seen from Travis Hunter at the HBCU level, let alone Power 5 football? And even though I know it's the Pac-12, but it's not the most physical conference, what have we seen from Travis Hunter that says he's a Heisman contender? Like a Heisman contender. How about can he play a whole football season? Because he hasn't even played a whole year of football because he was injured some of last year. Can Travis Hunter play 12 games? And then in those 12 games, let's then say, okay, is he more offense? Heisman contender? No. Heck no. That's right. I am a late Gibson grad. Running back is a sleeper. Running back sleeper is Holmes. Have you seen the depth chart for Colorado? I have, actually. Miami of Ohio is expected to win a division of the MAC. The QB is Blaine Gabbert's brother, and their defense is stout but undersized. If TVD is injured or even limited, an upset is in the works. Interesting. They better, or I'm trolling heavy. Red seniors versus sophomores. Look at this build. Does he look like a Heisman Trophy winning football player? Good old Lakeland. Travis was okay in the SWAC. How he getting all that hype and has never played Power 5? You tell me. I don't know where all the hype's coming from. Does he look like a Power 5 football player? I don't know if he does or doesn't. Look, there's some guys, right? The Deshaun Jacksons of the world that have been slender. Ted Ginn Jr. Small guys. But I gotta see it. I'm away to Orlando Friday. Can't wait for the game. Good look. Glad football is back. Absolutely. Knowles pushing Akeem Dent. That's good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing to have somebody pushing somebody. Nobody should be comfortable. Nobody should be comfortable. Hit the like button, guys. Hit that like button. And tomorrow, we'll get in some of the other games. But I did want to do Miami and Florida because I think, those are interesting games. Both teams had very disappointing years. Year one under their new savior of a head coach. And Billy Napier, who went 6-6 and then got embarrassed in a bowl game where he had to get a field goal just to keep from getting shut out. And Miami doesn't even make a bowl game. They go 5-7 with blowouts to Pitt, Middle Tennessee, Florida State, of course, the big dogs. North Carolina put 45 on them. I think Duke put 45. They should have been just called the Miami 45ers because any team worth anything put 45 on their noggin. So you got those two teams, man. They're looking to bounce back this year and do something credible with their coaching. We'll see what happens. I just smashed that like button. What's up? I'm late to the show, but have y'all seen the video of Prime saying he's not a Knoll because he graduated from Talladega? Absolutely. We talked about that. That was the first thing we talked about tonight. So if you want to hit the replay and watch that first part of this, absolutely talked about it. Is it me or LSU receiver Core A? I talked about that too, Dupree, at the beginning of the show. Go watch that. I hit on everything y'all have been talking about. And then LSU's offense as a whole is being overhyped. Again, preaching to the choir, my man. You're preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir. So tomorrow, man, I think I'm going to do the same thing. If I get a chance, if I get some time, come back in my little office here, give y'all about another hour, 30 minutes. But tomorrow, expect to go over some just whole college football talk. And of course, we always talk Florida State, so you already know. We'll continue to talk Florida State, LSU. But that's all I got for y'all tonight, man. So as always, man, hit the like button on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. If you're late, I'm sorry. Definitely watch the playback. Go check it out. It's your boy POLK over here on 863 Seminole TV. I'm over here looking shaggy. I need a haircut. Need to get home and get out of this. I need a drink. I need all kind of stuff. But even with all of that, I'm giving y'all what I give y'all. So expect this weekend to get that halftime and to get that instant reaction show like always, man. But as always, man, it's your boy Polk over here on 863 Seminole TV. I want y'all to stay classy, my Seminoles. And we are out here. Go.